Hey, what's up, YouTube? Are you being asked to do some things that you aren't comfortable with? What's going on with all these mandates? What's going on with your job? What's going on with America today? This is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. America has always been a shining light for opportunities to have freedom and especially financial freedom. Let's talk a little bit about how these things might affect you and what you can do financially to make sure that you're self-reliant and that you're financially free. My name is Paris Clough, and this is Financial Self-Reliance. On this channel, we talk about the mindsets and the skill sets of the wealthy so that you can learn how to manage, protect, and grow your money. If that sounds like the kind of channel you want to be a part of, go ahead and click like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the content that I produce. Now, this video might be a little bit controversial. In fact, I might get a few dislikes, but the reality is that America has been founded on principles of freedom and liberty since its inception. The whole purpose for which we were colonized and the whole purpose for which this country was created was to be able to have the freedom to have property, the freedoms to have life and liberties, and to be able to do the things that we want to do without having to be fearful of other people forcing us to do things that we don't want to do or aren't comfortable with. You cannot be financially free or financially independent in a country or in a system or an environment where you just don't have those natural, basic human freedoms. So I want to share with you a few things that might help you kind of get a different perspective, maybe give you some hope and some faith about some things that you can do. The first thing that I want you to realize is that the person who has a plan will always be someone who has more hope. So if you feel like you're back into a corner, you have no escape, that's one of the first things that you know you've been overcome by fear. Fear is an acronym. It's false evidence appearing real. Right now, we have a lot of evidence being slammed into our face. So it's up to us to make sure if it's false evidence that's appearing real or if it's real evidence that's appearing real. So I was talking with a friend of mine this last week, and she was sharing with me how scared she was of losing her job or being mandated to do something she wasn't comfortable with. And I shared with her that, you should stand for your principles. Stand for what you believe is right and let the cards fall where they may. If that means you get fired, if that means you get let go, that's what it means. But I promise you, in every story where I've seen somebody who was fired, somebody who was let go for standing up for their principles, standing up for freedom, standing up for their liberties, there was always a better thing that was awaiting them on the other side of that. And she agreed with that. She actually said to me, you know what, Paris? Looking back, every time I've made a decision in my life where I was up against a wall, or I thought I was, or backed into a corner, and I made the decision, I was always led to a better place. I felt like what I was leaving, whether it was a relationship or a job or anything, I always felt like I was going to be trapped. And so I was scared and I had that fear. And so every time I broke through that and just went for it and did it anyways, I ended up in a much better place. And so she says, I need to have faith that what happened in the past will happen again in the future. And I totally believe that. I totally agree with her. If you aren't prepared properly financially right now to make a decision, this is a wake-up call to get prepared financially so that you aren't forced to do things that you don't feel comfortable with or that go against your conscience. See, most people are scared today because they aren't prepared and they don't have a plan. What if you took the time to get prepared and have a plan? Now, some of you may not feel like you have enough time to get prepared and to have a plan. So many years ago, I was put in a position at my work that I didn't feel comfortable with, and I wanted to leave. I wanted out, and I felt fearful because I had a family, I had bills to pay, I had everything that I needed to do as a responsible adult, as a father, as a husband. At that time in my life, I actually had enough time in my life to develop a side hustle, to develop a business in my part-time hours, to be able to build something that I could transition into. But right now, there's too many Americans that have no money in savings. They have no money in their emergency funds, and they're scared to death that if they leave their jobs or get fired, they're going to have huge financial ramifications. Well, this is clearly a wake-up call to get prepared and get ready so the next time this doesn't happen to you. But also take courage. One of the things that you have that's actually more valuable than money in the bank is your knowledge, is your skill sets. It's your ability to do good and hard work. There are so many people out there today looking for good, strong, hard workers. If you can just provide a good work ethic and value to a new employer, you're going to be able to find a new job very quickly. If you can't find a new job quickly, maybe you've got that spark in you to be an entrepreneur and start your own business and start a side hustle. If you really hit the ground running and you double down and really go to work, I bet you could start a business that will be profitable in 30 or 60 or even 90 days. And that may be all you need to get where you need to go. The one thing that I want to make sure that you recognize and realize is that there's always hope. There's always hope for a brighter future, but you have to believe that's true. You have to be the one that turns the switch and says, you know what? I'm in a bad place. I'm in a position where if I'd have been more prepared, I wouldn't be so scared. So next time I'm going to be better prepared, so I'm not as scared. It's better to stay principled. It's better to follow your heart and follow your conscience than to do something that you're not comfortable with. Do something that other people are mandating on you. That's tyranny. That's not freedom. You can't be financially free if you have people that are forcing things on you. You can't be financially free if you're not in a position where you can make choices and make decisions for yourself, not just for your body, but also for your whole life and what you choose to do with your life. If we were in a society where you couldn't even start a business, you had to work in a job that you were forced to work into, that's not a free society. That's not a place where you could do what you need to do. If you were only given a certain salary or this was all the money you could ever make, how would you ever build wealth? How would you ever save money and how would you ever get out of the rat race, so to speak? You have to have a free environment. You have to have liberties and freedoms to be able to pursue your goals and dreams. And you have to be in an environment and a place where that's allowed. It's imperative that we get that in our minds first, and then we prepare ourselves. I feel very grateful that many years ago I started my own business, that many years ago that I started to recognize and realize that I needed to be self-reliant and independent, and then build a business where I didn't have to rely on somebody else to tell me how much I was worth, to tell me where I could live, to tell me what I could do or not do, or what vacations I could or couldn't take, or when I was allowed to take time off or not. I built a business many years ago, and now I'm in a position where I'm very grateful and I feel very fortunate. If you're not in that position right now, then recognize that you still can be. There's still hope for that. Take a step back, think about a plan, think about all the options. If you've gone to school and you're educated in a particular field, and you might be thinking to yourself, well, there's nowhere I can go in this field that will hire me. Well, maybe think of a different field to get into. Do a different type of occupation for a little while until things settle down, and you can maybe move back into that. There's always an option. There's always a way out. I don't know how you feel about God, but God always prepares an escape for those who will look for it and recognize it and take action toward it. In my life, that's what I have found to be true. And I wanted to share that with you. So let me give you some practical things that are happening right now. I had another friend call me and say, Paris, I might be losing my job here based on some decisions that I want to make for my life that are not in congruence with what my employer wants me to make. And so what do I do with my money? And so if you have a pension plan where the company is in charge of that pension plan, you may lose that, or you may have to work out a deal with HR to kind of get some of that. Thankfully, over the last several decades, pension plans have kind of gone the way of the past, and they're not really very popular, or not very many companies offer those anymore. But if you've worked diligently and you've put money into a 401k at work, that might be your emergency fund. That might be your saving grace for the next 3 or 4 or 5 months until you can either start your own business or join with some other people and partner up with some other people to do a new business venture or get a new job. So my friend called me recently and said, Paris, I might be let go from my job. What do I do with my 401k? And so when you are currently working for a company, you can't access that money unless you do it through a loan provision. But let's say you get let go and you're now on your own, you can actually transfer that 401k money into an individual retirement account or into an individual account that you can manage on your own. Then from there, you can actually take money out. Now, of course, you're going to get penalized. Of course, you're going to be taxed on that money, but it's still money that you could use to get by in the meantime. That's an option that you might think about, is taking that 401k money that you have and using that to live on for a little while until you find something, or until you find a workplace that matches more in line with your particular belief system and it's more congruent with your goals and what you want to do with your life. This is a huge wake-up call to a lot of people. Most people will sit back in life and say, I don't need to save money because I got a good job. I don't need to save money because I got a great career. I don't need to get the proper insurance. I don't need to invest in my future. I don't need to think about a side hustle. I don't need to think about other ways to make money because the job I have is fantastic. Well, a lot of people are realizing right now is that even though they may have a fantastic job, that job is now making requirements of them that are not in congruence with their goals for themselves. You are now placed in a position where you have to make a decision that you previously didn't think you would ever have to make. That's why it's so important to always be self-reliant, always be in a position where you can make those decisions. If somebody asks you to do something you're not comfortable with, If you're prepared with a large sum of money in savings, if you're prepared with food storage, if you're prepared with resources, if you're prepared with a side hustle that's making money, you don't even bat an eye. Somebody asks you to do something you're not wanting to do, you can just say, see ya, I don't need to do it. And you can move on because you have the resources in place. You're prepared, you're ready, you're independent, you're self-reliant, and you can get more self-reliant. So one of the things I realized is that I had a job that was really good and I was scared to death because I wanted that steady income. Well, I work hard no matter what I'm going to do. So I started my own, I quit my job, I started my own business, and I worked hard. And I actually made more money, and I've been making more money ever since. And now I'll never go back. I want you to know that there's hope. If you feel like you're in a place where you are stuck, you're trapped, and you're in a corner, make new plans. Make a new goal, make a new plan, and then feel confident and hopeful that that new plan will give you the freedoms and the liberties and will get you going where you want to go and get you back on track so that you can care for your family and you can care for your life. Do what you've got to do to make sure that you stay true and faithful to your belief systems and what your conscience tells you to do. I hope that you take time to plan and get prepared and be ready, because anything can happen at any time. And the more prepared you are, the more ready you are, the less fear that will control you, and the more that you'll have control over your own life. And to me, that's the ultimate goal, is to be independent, to have control of your life, and to be in a place of preparedness and self-reliance. I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.